When God marks you for something greater, He often removes everyone from your path. He isolates you not because you are unworthy, but because you are being purified. He silences the noise around you because He wants you to hear only His voice. Many cry in the night and say, "Why do I have no one? Why do friends disappear from me? Why do people misunderstand me?" But when God chooses a soul, He doesn't let that soul walk with the crowd. He separates them from the multitude so He can mold them in the silence. You think you've been abandoned, but in truth, you've been chosen for divine refinement. You think people left you, but God removed them so your spirit could grow in strength and purity. When God has His hand upon your life, you will notice that companionship becomes rare. The chosen ones don't fit into ordinary circles because their destiny is extraordinary. You can't fit into gossip, into shallow friendships, into meaningless conversations, because your soul craves higher things. You sit in the middle of people yet feel alone because God has lifted your spirit above worldly frequencies. When your heart begins to hunger for truth, when your eyes begin to see what others ignore, when your spirit begins to discern what others mock, isolation becomes the evidence of your divine calling. God withdraws you from the crowd, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every chosen one must pass through the valley of aloneness. This is not a curse, it is a holy process. When you have no friends, no one to lean on, no one to understand your pain, this is when God begins to train your soul. He removes the comfort of human support so that your faith roots itself in Him alone. You begin to learn that no human can carry the weight of your destiny. No friend can handle the depth of your spiritual pain. No one can understand the fire inside you because it was placed there by God Himself. He is purifying you to depend on Him, to listen only to Him, to walk where others cannot go. The world does not understand the chosen. People misunderstand your silence, your difference, your conviction. They call you proud because you no longer chase approval. They call you strange because you no longer laugh at emptiness. But you are not strange. You are sacred. You are not lonely. You are separated. You are not rejected. You are refined. When God marks you, He pulls you away from the familiar because your growth demands divine solitude. He will take away every distraction, every relationship, every comfort that prevents you from hearing His whisper clearly. If you look back, you will realize something powerful. Every season of isolation brought you closer to God. Every time people left, His presence filled the void. Every time you cried for companionship, His Spirit wrapped you in peace. Every time you were misunderstood, He understood. Every wound that people caused became the door through which you found divine wisdom. This is why chosen ones often walk alone, because their intimacy with God replaces their dependence on people. The chosen soul does not chase acceptance, it seeks alignment with God. When God calls you to something mighty, He must prune your circle. Not everyone can walk with you where you are going. Some friends carry the dust of the past. Some relationships block the flow of God's revelation. Some connections drain your strength instead of fueling your purpose. So God steps in. He separates you. He hides you. He makes people forget you. He makes the phone stop ringing. He makes your name vanish from conversations. And while your heart aches, your spirit begins to breathe. For the first time, you realize that divine loneliness is not absence. It is presence in disguise. God hides you until you no longer crave the crowd, until your joy is found in Him alone. Chosen ones have zero friends, not because they are difficult, but because they are deeply spiritual. Their frequency is higher than gossip, higher than lust, higher than worldly ambition. Their thoughts dwell in eternal matters, and so earthly company feels heavy. When they speak, people feel conviction instead of comfort. When they walk into a room, their silence exposes emptiness. When they stand alone, heaven stands with them. So people leave, not because they hate you, but because the light of God upon you reveals their shadows. You are light in a dark generation, and darkness cannot dwell near you without discomfort. There are moments when the chosen one kneels before God and says, "Why am I always alone?" And God whispers, "Because I am jealous for your attention." You cannot share your heart with everyone because your heart is sacred ground. You cannot walk with everyone because your steps are directed by divine strategy. You cannot trust everyone because not everyone sees with spiritual eyes. The chosen walk a narrow path, and narrow paths are not crowded. God isolates the chosen not to break them, but to build them into vessels that carry His wisdom, His strength, His authority. When you have zero friends, God becomes your friend. When you have no one to talk to, your spirit begins to commune directly with Him. You start to feel His nearness in silence. You start to sense His answers in your thoughts. You start to hear His direction in your stillness. You become so one with His purpose that you no longer fear solitude. What others call loneliness, you call divine intimacy. What others see as rejection, you see as redirection. God strips you of the noise of the world, so you can finally hear the music of heaven. There is a sacred loneliness that only the chosen experience. It is not a punishment, it is preparation. It is not emptiness, it is expansion. When you sit alone and your spirit weeps, know that something holy is forming inside you. God is teaching you to depend on invisible strength. He is preparing your inner world for unseen glory. When people walk away, God begins to walk closer. When doors close, He begins to open your inner eyes. When the world turns its back, heaven begins to reveal its secrets. This is why chosen ones cannot blend in, because they were never meant to. The path of the chosen is not filled with laughter and crowds. It is filled with solitude and revelation. You must walk alone so you can discover your true identity in God.